Democrats respond to the very bad news for them that Joe Biden had confidential documents in his office. Oh, man, they were so excited that they were going to be able to clobber President Trump over the head with this indefinitely. And now a lot of the air is out of their sails. And so the Democrats dragged out this fella, who we know from the illegally constituted January 6th Select Committee, to explain this away. Why the double standards? Why is Trump such a criminal, but Biden is so useful? We're going to start with Pete Aguilar, then listen to MSNBC, see if Biden had anything to say about it, check in with The View, and as well as this poor guy on CNN who says that this essentially exonerates Trump. Let's start with the Democrats, though. Pete Aguilar comes out in front of the media, and he's asked the first question. Hey, Pete, you were very hysterical over Trump and his confidential documents. Now that Joe Biden has been found to have his confidential documents, do you have any concerns about that one?
Questions?
Chairman Aguilar, Adrian Diaz with CBS News. Should the discovery of President Biden's classified documents been disclosed before the midterms?
Yes.
Well, let's step back and talk about this for a minute.
Question. Should the disclosure that this happened, that you had these documents, you knew about them November 2nd, should they have been disclosed prior to the election?
President Biden's classified documents been disclosed before the midterms?
Well, let's step back and talk about this for a minute because...
All right, let's do it.
And I appreciate the question.
Great.
This is Republican hypocrisy at its finest.
What?
When the former president had 320 documents found at his personal residence, they said that, quote, that will not be a priority. What President Biden did was disclose this to the archives.
He had to.
Let law enforcement know.
He had to.
That is exactly the way that you should handle this.
Well, he had to.
So
legally.
We're going to support the fact that the president is following this established protocol, that he did the right thing, and see what other and see where we go from here. But we're not interested. Republicans aren't interested in having meaningful oversight. They're just interested in opposing this president.
Okay, so the first point that he made was about the hypocrisy, which is strange because the Biden administration, if they were being consistent and they were raiding people who had documents, they would have also raided Joe Biden's other properties. I mean, does Joe Biden have additional documents out there? Is this all the documents? Or are there other national security secrets, top secret classified materials out there? I have no idea. But they called for the prosecution of Trump, and they're not calling for the prosecution of Biden. So that, I think, is the definition of hypocrisy. Now, the Republicans, I think, have really been more consistent on this. The Republicans have said this is a ridiculous thing to go and raid a former president. It's insane to do that and to prosecute a former president for overdue library books, which is essentially all that they have turned out to be. After the midterms, you've kind of noticed they stopped talking about those documents so much. So it's a very similar thing. The Republicans here have been consistent. Now, my base opinion, right, is that this is probably nothing, right? This is probably, yes, overdue library books, much the same way that Trump's was overdue library books. I don't know. Maybe there's more there. Maybe there are Ukrainian connections there. Or there's more information about Hunter Biden. There is a different situation where Trump is entitled to more of these records under the law than Joe Biden is. And there's also questions about why he had those documents. But the point is there's distinguishing factors between the two. They can't seem to extract the two from one another. They want to give Biden the benefit of the doubt and criminalize literally everything that Trump did, even though Trump has more justifications legally than Biden did. So it's not hypocritical for the Republicans to say they don't support prosecutions in both cases. But if you're going to prosecute Trump, then the standard has to be equally applied. You should also prosecute Biden. That's the opposite of hypocritical. This guy's hypocritical by saying prosecute Trump, don't prosecute Biden.
What do you say to, I'm so sorry.
Go ahead.
What do you say to critics who argue these documents were discovered November 2nd, midterms were November 8th, and they could have been withheld to avoid potential damage against Democrats before the midterms.
This was done in consultation. You saw Merrick Garland have a U.S. attorney weigh in at this point. This is being done the exact way, getting the archives involved. Someone who was on the January 6th committee.
We know. Yeah, we know.
There is a process to handling documents. The president is handling it the way he should. That's what's important.
There is a process of handling documents. Yeah. So how did he get them? We're going to learn about that, right? We all know how Trump got his documents. They put them on moving boxes and shipped them down to Mar-a-Lago, right? What happened with Joe's? Why did he have them? Why was the National Archives not asking for them? Yes, it's great that everything is being handled now. He got caught with his hand in the cookie jar. He got actually some cookie jars in a manila envelope called personal on them. And those have to go back now. So of course he's going to comport with the law. But the crime was before the discovery, long before the discovery. But he's just going to say, well, he's doing everything he should be now. That's not what we're asking about.
Go ahead.
To follow up on that, though, I mean, in April we knew about in August we knew about the search warrant executed at Mar-a-Lago. Isn't that sort of a time when everybody goes, let's just make sure we don't have any of our own? Isn't this a little bit sloppy to not have this?
Why didn't you clean your nose up,
on
guys?
the Democrat side to make sure that when they're saying this is terrible, he has documents, let's also make sure that we don't have any documents.
The question is, when you're hyperventilating out there about Trump, maybe you should make sure that you also don't have classified document problems. He's going to say, well, talk to the White House about that.
I think that's a question for me. That might be a question directed down the street. But what I'll tell you is this is being done. This is being handled the way he should. This is not about August. This is about today. Where we are at. The president is handling this the way that he should. He's disclosing it. He's letting the archives know. Law enforcement is aware. We're handling this with the seriousness at which it deserves. But we're not downplaying this, which is exactly what House Republicans have done. Did you have something?
You are downplaying it. You are downplaying it, saying he did everything right and everything's by the book and distinguishing it from what Trump did. And that's about all we got out of that press conference. Now, Biden has not addressed this yet. Questions for the White House have been, are you going to respond to this? We haven't heard from Karine Jean-Pierre. They have been traveling around. Biden has been meeting with people in different locations. Joe sitting with dictator Trudeau in Mexico, and they have a nice little handshake to wrap up whatever this is. And then Biden ignores questions from the media. Hey, Joe, any comment on that classified material that you stole?
Years, but I never.
Just sit there.
Thank you guys, appreciate it. Thanks guys.
We're gonna get up.
All right guys, let's head out. TV, we can start moving. Thanks guys.
Your audio on.
No response. They just smirk and look at each other. They're down in Mexico. We see the rest of the Biden cabinet is basically there. We've got Secretary of State Anthony Blinken. We've got U.S. Attorney General Merrick Garland. And then you can see here Department of Homeland Security, who doesn't care about the homeland or security, is also sitting there. Alejandro Mayorkas, Joe Biden, front and center.
Agradecemos a
Questions in the background.
agradecemos a
Mr.
los
President,
medios
any response? Any response, Mr. President? No. No answers, no response, of course, because, well, they don't have much to say. But we are going to listen to MSNBC explain exactly what their basis is, why Biden is innocent, and why Trump is as guilty as they come. Right after we have a quick message from Goldco, my friends. And Goldco is a sponsor that's back on the program. We're grateful they are here with us. And they have a message, of course. If you have an IRA, a 401k, or a savings account, things are scary out there. The Biden administration already printed more money in the past 2 years than the previous 100 years combined, and it is not stopping. National debt hit a record $30+ trillion. Inflation's the highest we've seen since 1982. It's only a matter of time until the entire house of cards comes crashing down. If you have retirement savings, your money could be at serious risk. I'll invite you to talk to my friends at Goldco. See if you can protect your retirement with gold and silver before it's too late. Go to this address right on your screen, robertlikesgold.com. They'll give you $10,000 or more in silver when you open up a qualifying account at robertlikesgold.com. And you'll also notice when you go there, Robert Likes Gold, they're a Better Business rated business, lots of great reviews, and they will help you consider your options to protect your retirement at robertlikesgold.com. All right. So MSNBC is trying to paper over this and trying to calm the nerves. A lot of people are nervous that Joe Biden was found with classified documents. And so they've got to calm their audience a bit. So they bring on this woman who's going to explain the differences between Trump's criminality and Joe Biden's honest, innocent mistake.
When we first learned about Donald Trump's potential violations, we've learned over time that he took and then retained more than 320 documents with classification markings. So,
because he says he's allowed to do that. He's entitled to do that as a president who declassified them. He's entitled to them under the Presidential Records Act and so on.
So far, the number of documents that we understand were found in President Biden's personal office number about 10. So
Doesn't
one
matter.
is quantity.
One's
the
enough.
second
One's
is
enough.
a question of where they were found. Obviously, in President Trump's case, they were found in a variety of locations, whether it be in his personal office at Mar-a-Lago, in the residence in Mar-a-Lago, in storage units in Mar-a-Lago, and then most recently in a storage unit in West Palm Beach, where some of the papers from his presidency were taken. Here, all we know to date is that documents were found in a locked closet in an office at the Penn Biden Center that the former president was using. But I venture to say the biggest difference here is one that the law recognizes. And
yeah, so the law doesn't really care about that, right? The law doesn't say you're allowed to be in possession of confidential documents except if they are locked in a closet under a camera where there's 2 armed guards 24 hours a day, right? That's not what the law says. So this is nice, like it's window dressing. Otherwise, we would have been making this argument. We were making similar arguments. We were saying, because they were making the argument that Trump basically had this stuff out, you know, like a book out there on a lawn chair out there at the pool at Mar-a-Lago. You know, there's classified documents over there. Not the case. But the law doesn't care. The law doesn't care about that at all. And we had clips of Bill Barr here saying the same thing, saying, actually, you know, the law doesn't really matter, doesn't care about any of these things. And if you read the statute, it's pretty basically bland, cut and dry. So what she's explaining, right, this is to calm their nerves a little bit and to say Joe Biden, you know, is a real nice guy because his was more secure than Trump's.
that's one of willfulness. There's nothing to indicate, based on what we know so far, that President Biden either took these documents willfully or retained them willfully. And
we don't know that so far, but he was in possession of them. So somebody took the documents. Who took the documents? And the same question applies. If the National Archives was asking for an exit interview, it was asking for a conclusion document when, you know, Biden was completing his last day, did he confirm? Did anybody from his office confirm that everything had been returned? Because if so, they fraudulently signed a chain of custody document. And that's the same allegation they say is obstruction when Trump did it.
you look back at the Trump search warrant application, there are 3 statutes that the Department of Justice said they were investigating violations of. One has to do with concealing documents from the government in an ongoing investigation. Certainly, we're not there with President Biden yet. But
not yet.
The other 2.
Not yet. If they asked for those documents back and he didn't return them, there's that checkbox.
Have to do with unlawfully retaining or delivering documents, whether they be documents that affect the national defense in the Espionage Act's case, or just simply holding on to government records.
Simple
Those
possession.
both require willfulness. That's a level of intent that we're not seeing so far in the Biden case. And
They were in his office. It's the same level of intent that they're ascribing to Trump. Okay, except that Trump, right, was making some claims for these documents, and he's entitled to do that. So the willfulness there, yeah, it's like Trump was willfully in possession of them. He acknowledged he had some of these documents, I think all of them, and he made legal claims for them. So the willfulness is sort of presumed and explained, right, which is very different than Joe Biden's possession in a closet in his office. We have to know whether he confirmed that he transferred everything back, and we don't know that yet.
That's a distinction with difference, Katie.
So
it's not any different. So she knows that. But all right. So that's MSNBC. Now they're having bad news all over the place. They're trying to explain this away, and they just can't do it. This guy is over on CNN, and I caught a very interesting clip. He's not going to be invited back, unfortunately for him. He tells the truth, and they don't like it. So this woman here next to Anderson Cooper, you can watch her reaction as this dude here in the middle speaks. They ask him, now that Biden has been found with classified documents, how does this implicate Trump? How does that impact that prosecution?
Here, but the political usefulness of this cannot be underscored, cannot be overstated enough. I mean, to give Republicans this talking point for the rest of their natural lives almost exonerates Trump, and, in terms of debates and what comes up. I mean, if this ever comes up and somebody brings it up, you're always going to have this retort.
That's right.
There's a lot of, by the way,
you better believe it.
Politics is laughing their rear end off tonight that this happened to Joe Biden.
It's true.
Given how strident his commentary was in attacking Donald Trump about this in the first place. So, yeah, it's a big deal politically.
Scott. Yeah.
It is a big deal politically. They don't like that answer. I mean, yeah, he's exactly right. We've been laughing about this on our members only stream this morning. I was saying, what else can you do other than just do cartwheels when this happens? If you're Trump, if you're the Republicans, this was the biggest issue. I mean, this was what's going to eliminate Trump. This was special counsel. This is the newly appointed International Criminal Court prosecutor. This has been the thing that they've been salivating over for, 6 years, 7 years. They have all wanted Trump gone. They've impeached him twice. They've opened up their own special counsels before. They want him done. And this was going to be it, finally, right? He's not in office anymore. He doesn't have the federal government backing him up. He's extremely weak, according to them. And then, just when the walls are closing in around the former president, we wake up and Joe Biden did the exact same thing. You're kidding me. So I guess it's not that bad. It really is kind of an overdue library book thing. Is that what you're saying to us? So everybody is laughing. They are mocking this double standard, rightfully so. But as he explains this, watch her face. She can't help herself. She does the little eye twitch over there, the little facial twitch, and then catches herself. And in this woman also, too, the eyes get a little bit bigger after the exoneration comment. CNN doesn't like it.
Political usefulness of this cannot be underscored, cannot be overstated enough. I mean, to give Republicans this talking point for the rest of their natural lives almost exonerates Trump, and in terms of debates and what comes up. I mean, if this ever comes up and somebody brings it up, you're always going to have this retort. So there's a lot of, by the way, everybody in politics is laughing their rear end off tonight that this happened to Joe Biden.
Yes. Given
how strident his commentary was in attacking Donald Trump about this in the first place. So, yeah, it's a big deal politically.
Scott, I haven't seen you quite so chipper in quite a while.
It's hilarious.
I'm perfectly happy for the Justice Department to investigate this and get to the bottom of both cases. I think classified material ought to be taken care of. And I think people who've been all over Donald Trump about this ought to have the wherewithal to be all over Joe Biden about it, too.
Yeah, it's fair.
Scott is talking. Go ahead, Audie.
I was going to say one thing to keep in mind, though, is the former president is in trouble for claiming that he turned in documents that he did not, ignoring subpoenas.
Did Joe Biden do that? Did he say that he turned those documents in, or why was he in possession of those?
Some of his lawyers are accused of saying that they signed off on certifying that they had documents that they...
Yeah, we want to know if Joe Biden's lawyers did that too.
Didn't, or had documents, and it turned out there were more documents. So some of this is about how you react to something. Do you react with...
Wait a minute, is that a crime? How you react to something? So if it's a crime to be in possession of the documents, but you're really nice about it, and you're very cooperative, that makes it okay? I mean, was that the standard? Was that the standard that they were referencing and citing under the law? I don't think so.
Obstruction, do you react by stiff-arming federal agencies?
That's your right to do that. You don't have to cooperate with the federal government in any way, shape, or form.
that's something that I think has to be.
Especially when you're under investigation by the loser DOJ going after a former president. You think Trump should just turn around and say, hey, let's play patty cake with you guys who have been openly investigating him and trying to basically wreck his presidency, wreck his personal life. They're sending Alan Weisselberg to prison or to jail. CFO of Trump Organization for tax embezzlement and stuff out of New York. It's nuts. They're raiding his personal residence, and then they want Trump to turn around and say, I'll just play nice with the DOJ, the same people that Michael Sussman was colluding with Jim Baker back in 2016, the same people who were censoring information on Twitter through the Twitter files, all to oppose Donald Trump. Suddenly she's like, well, he wasn't cooperating with the Justice Department. No kidding.
Be a part of this conversation because it's not just about where are random boxes.
But Dana, to Scott's point, in a debate, those details are easy to brush over, and the headline is it's the same thing. Look, this guy did it
is the
too.
same thing.
They are easy to brush over, and that's where I go back to the potential pitfall for Joe Biden if you're explaining you're losing. However, it really doesn't, and we'll see where this goes.
We will.
And we'll see where the Mar-a-Lago investigation goes. Now both are before the Department of Justice. It is very, very different. And
it's not different, whoever that person is. All right. So you can see she's very unhappy with that exoneration. She was probably one of the hyperventilators out there who just said this was the end of America. Trump's finally coming down. Many of these people live on Twitter all the time. In fact, they sound a lot like these people on The View. We're going to listen to this one next. The View, very, very intelligent bunch of ladies over there. They're going to give us information on this debacle. From The View, weighing in on Joe Biden's theft of classified information, Joy Bayer tells us why Joe Biden is innocent and Donald Trump is guilty.
Really, I think that what you just said is right, that there are differences in what happened.
Yes, but the optics are not good.
Well, we all know that Trump is a liar and a thief.
What?
You know? We know that. So it's not that big a jump to say that he obstructed and he lied. We don't think that Biden is a liar and a thief, so we give him the benefit of the doubt.
So you just presume because you don't like somebody, you can just prosecute them because that's how justice exists in Joy Bayer's world. All of your enemies are bad people. Nobody's innocent until proven guilty. Equal protection, due process of the law doesn't matter. Prosecutions and their eventual consequences, the literal weaponization of the federal government against political adversaries in this country is communist nonsense. But she's okay with it as long as it is somebody that she trusts. We can give them the benefit of the doubt.
That's partly what's going on. But what I think also is going on, no matter what the truth of it is, Whoopi, they will spin it, Bubblehead and Marjorie Taylor and that crowd, Matt Gaetz. You think they're not going to spin this, that it's just as bad as Trump? And so the lie gets...
It is. It's technically it is, right? I mean, it's the same legal consequences. Like, it's the same law, right? And you apply the facts to the law.
It's out there. People believe it, just like that Donaldson person, whatever his name is.
Byron.
What's his name?
Byron. We just listened
Donalds.
to.
I saw him also.
She can't remember his name? Why? That's very racist. She can't remember his name. Very convenient.
Oh, he was at the fight on the floor, too, wasn't he?
He was nominated for speaker at number.
You know who he is. Joy.
He's the new darling.
15 rounds.
But I mean, what I'm just saying is that the lying has been so invasive, so ubiquitous, that no one will believe the truth anymore. And that you can put that at the feet of Donald Trump, who started the lying.
So
Wow, what a weird show that is. People watch that every day? Okay, so weird show. Probably not going to clip from them again for probably a couple years again. But that, my friends, is the Democrat, the media reaction. There's a whole bunch of cope going on out there. They're very upset about this. And this guy's not going back on CNN probably. We'll see. Good luck to him because he is exactly right. This entire narrative, these hyperventilators who've been screaming and screeching that Trump is finally going to get his day, they're all having to come to terms with reality that their loved president is responsible for the same conduct. And in fact, the conduct might be even more egregious because he was the vice president. And the National Archives evidently didn't even know about the documents until it was discovered by his own lawyers. So where did the documents come from? How did they get there? What was Joe Biden's involvement? Who signed off on any chain of custody documents promising the return? And yes, prosecution must come If they're going to be prosecuting Trump with special counsel, Joe Biden should get the same treatment. We'll continue to cover. Thank you for subscribing and following along, liking this video wherever it is you're watching it. And we'll look forward to seeing you on the next one.